Hi, I'm Jay Polaki, and this is the HRBytes podcast, where HR practitioners share their think globally and act locally digital HR agenda. Hi, Ann. Welcome to today's show. I am looking forward to learning from you today, and I'm sure our audience is going to get many meaningful and insightful HR bites from today's conversation. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for inviting me.
So, Anne, you've been in the HR industry for over 25 plus years, and you worked in nonprofits, for profits, small companies, large companies, in-house HR teams, as well as, external HR teams as a consultant. Tell us a little bit about how you got started and what's exciting you in your HR world today.
I got started many years ago in an education institution, um, and just evolved from there. Really, I moved around a bit because I was military at the time, and so I worked in a bunch of different industries, everything from education to a national greenhouse, light industrial, etc. And now I am working at Consortium, which is a small organization. It's for profit. There's only 80 employees here. So I am the sole HR person for our company. What's exciting me about HR today is what's excited me since day one. It's always changing. There's always some sort of challenge out there, something new being introduced, something to explore. Every day is different, and I really enjoy that.
And when you and I first spoke, we were talking about how everything is changing so fast and at light speed, right? And it's still exciting, but at the same time there's so many challenges ahead of us as HR professionals. And one of the big things is all of the automation that's happening in our HR space today. So, from your perspective, how do we approach automation and AI for our HR function in today's organizations? And what should we be really focused on as we are looking at all of this new technology?
I think one thing we need to keep in mind whenever there's a new bright shiny object in the room is that it's not the end all be all. Experiment with it, understand its capabilities, slowly introduce it to the organization instead of launching it full bore because you don't know what you don't know because it's so new. So right now, in fact, my organization is piloting use of AI to see where it makes sense to introduce on a broader level and where maybe it isn't the best tool to use. So we'll see how it plays out. We just launched this pilot program, and in fact, right before this meeting, I had a co-pilot, AI pilot meeting to talk about it and how we're going to end up rolling it out.
Wonderful. Well, I am excited for you because we are all learning together, and thank you so much for sharing your journey as you are learning and implementing AI today in your HR function. And you are an HR team of one, so I would love to learn how it's augmenting your role and helping you, uh, you know, be that efficient, productive HR team of one, quote unquote, right? So there's so many tools out there. What are some considerations in your HR role that you are taking into perspective while you're adopting AI?
Sure. I want to use it where it makes sense, as I mentioned earlier. So there's a lot of repetitive processes within HR where introducing automation or even AI um, is the right is the right path to go. And then in other areas, you really want to keep that focus on the human element and not become so displaced or distant from your true calling is really human resources. You need to keep the human in the resources job. So you need to make sure that you continue to touch base with your coworkers, your management staff, etc., even though you're using all of these tools to make things more efficient. I like the idea of having automation because it's kind of like having a coworker that doesn't really exist in the human aspect, anyhow. A sounding board, someone who can be working over here doing things on an automated basis while I'm focusing on maybe the strategic aspect of my role.
I asked this LinkedIn question: will AI join your org chart this year? And believe it or not, there were so many different answers to that question. But looks like you have incorporated AI into your org chart, because you're talking about this automation and this digital sidekick that you have, who's going
Truly.
to probably help you, right? So you spoke about keeping the human touch in the midst of all of this technological revolution in the world of work.
Mhm.
At the same time, there are many people who are saying, well, AI will be smarter than a human. And some of them have even predicted that this is going to happen in less than 5 years, that by 2030, there'll be this AI that's much smarter than a human being. And we're all just going to be, I don't know, sitting in a closet, like the movie. I forget the name of this movie, but there was one, it was Bruce Willis, and he was in this movie, and his clone used to go to work for him, right? This robotic clone of his. So I hope that doesn't happen, and that's a very dystopian future, if you ask me. But what do you foresee? I'm going to ask you to look in your crystal ball and tell me, what do you foresee for HR this year and beyond, with all of this again shiny new object
Mhm.
technology that is in front of us?
Yeah, great question. Um, I think that AI is going to become much more commonplace. It's going to be a tool, just like years and years ago, we introduced the computer, and everyone's like, why do we need a computer? And now we can't live without it. We carry it around in our hands. It thinks for us, it acts for us, etc. So I think it's going to definitely be more commonplace. I, like you, hope it does not replace the human element, because then we'll feel like we're working with a bunch of robots otherwise, and they aren't so empathetic. um, as far as AI, I really do think it is just going to roll out as a bigger, broader, more commonplace tool. But there's always going to need to be that um, quality check. I think, just like today, we don't take everything that Google says, or anything that we look up as completely the truth. We have to verify, trust but verify, and I think that's going to continue to play out.
Wonderful. Well, what are you most worried about this year for the HR function in general? And if you had a magic wand, what would be your ideal solution to eliminate that problem?
So I think one of the things that continues to worry me, it's not just this year, it has been playing out ever more so each year, is the changing landscape as far as leave and pay laws goes. I am a team of one, yet we operate in multiple states. And so it's becoming much more challenging for me. And again, I think AI could play into that really well. I could ask AI, what's the leave law in Minnesota, and it will be much quicker to get to an answer for me using AI tools. And I think it's becoming more complex too, because those leave laws and pay laws are often impacted by what's happening in the federal landscape. It rolls down to the state and local, so it becomes a much more complex HR function. Um, if I had a magic wand, I would want a template that is created that is used by all states. So it just becomes a more level playing field for HR people to be able to manage a little bit better, a little easier, understand, that what's going on in one state or one city is playing out the same way in another state or another city.
Absolutely. That's one of the biggest pieces that I think AI will really help with, right? It's all about getting access to the knowledge and getting it in the moment that it matters the most to you to make that quick
Truly.
decision.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so, what's one piece of advice for HR professionals who are looking to adopt or adapt new technology? What do you wish for your HR team or HR teams in general? And what do you feel they should be better prepared for this year and beyond?
I think HR has been viewed as not so technologically savvy, and I think we need to embrace it more and more. Otherwise, we may be behind the times. So I would say be open. Um, I am a rather traditional person, and here I am talking about AI. So be open to the possibilities, explore them, talk with colleagues, people who are actually using these new tools. Find out what they like, what they don't like, instead of hearing just that information from a salesperson, because that salesperson's trying to sell. So they may not be giving you all that you need to see. So I would say that's probably the best advice I can give right now.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for that. And that brings us to the funner part of today's conversation, if this wasn't fun enough, Anne. So I'm going to jump into the question connection section where our audience will get to know you better and connect with you better.
Okay,
Ready?
great.
Who is one person you've gained in your network in the past year in the HR technology space that you'd recommend that we all get to know and connect with?
I would say one person I came upon by happenstance just recently is a woman by the name of Teresa Fezenstein, and she runs people powered AI. And she's really a dynamic leader. She has great insight, very practical advice to give people. So I would say she's the person you want to connect with.
And your favorite HR podcast or HR technology related book?
So I have dabbled in a number of platforms that have podcasts and share information. Sherm's always been um, my my go-to, and I still regularly access that along with a number of other resources. But I think my favorite right now is one of Teresa's podcasts. She has a number of them out there, and they're all really high quality and give great advice.
What song would you like to add to the HR playlist that we have on Spotify? We call it Gecko's Grooves, and you can add a song just to listen and tune in during your workday.
One of my happy songs is Three Little Birds by Bob Marley. I just love it, and it's very positive. And, despite all the stuff that's going on in our world and all of the changes that are happening, we'll be all right. And that's what the theme of that song is.
I love that one. So there's so much out there on LinkedIn Learning and other e-learning resources. Is there a series that's related to HR technology or HR that you would recommend to the audience?
I recently, sometime last year, I think it was, completed Strategic HR Leadership. It's offered through Udemy. It's a great series and has a lot of practical advice.
We'll link all of this in the show notes so everyone can get to, link to it and learn from it. You like working remotely and as well as in a physical office space. How do you like the hybrid setting right now?
Hybrid, I think, is ideal. It gives you the best of both worlds. You get to connect extemporaneously with your colleagues and have those conversations that might not happen, especially with an HR person. People don't like you to reach out to them by phone. They're wondering what's wrong. So I love that in-person experience, the spontaneous conversations that happen. But also working remotely gives me the opportunity to balance what needs to happen in my personal life and have that available to me to take care of and still manage my workload. So.
And you enjoy giving back to the HR community. I've met you through our local HR chapter meetings. How do you specifically like to give back to the HR community?
I just really like helping people. It's just my nature. And so a couple of years ago, I was actually part of the local chapter's mentor program for students who were pursuing HR or were recently in the HR profession. I've also become involved with mock interviews for some of the students that go to our local colleges. And then most recently, I've helped individuals critique their resumes. They've been displaced by various reasons, through various reasons, and they want someone just to look over their resumes to see what they can tweak on it to make them more marketable.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Anne. If our audience wants to connect with you, what's the best way for them to reach out?
I'd love to hear from them through LinkedIn. I'm on there regularly, so reach out, please. And this was super fun. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you again. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. Take care.
Take care.
Listen on your favorite podcast channels and watch us on YouTube. Follow us on social. We are on LinkedIn, X, Instagram, Facebook, and Threads. Join our budding community on LinkedIn and Facebook. Ask, answer, advise.